The big story of the year was quite obviously the eurozone. We started 2011 with some hope that the short-term crisis in the eurozone would be sorted out, that we'd already had bailouts then for Greece and for Ireland in 2010, but 2011 was supposed to be the year of normalisation, of stabilisation, of recovery. It didn't really work out like that at all. I mean, the eurozone ended 2011 fighting for its life.
Without those safeguards, it is better not to have a treaty within a treaty, but to have those countries make their arrangements separately. That is what is now going to happen.
As for the UK, we started 2011 with lots of speculation about when interest rates would go up. The assumption was that the Bank of England would move quite quickly towards getting interest rates back up to more normal level. They've been at 0.5% in the UK since the very start of 2009. And the feeling in the city was that by May of 2011, the Bank of England would be moving to push interest rates up, and they'd probably be back to about 2% by the end of the year. Now, that really hasn't happened. The assumption now is that interest rates will stay at 0.5% for the whole of 2012 and perhaps quite a large chunk of 2013 as well.
On the third day of Christmas, a Mervyn came to me. 3 years of nothing, 2 bags of QE, and no interest on my savings.
Elsewhere in the world, it's been a bit of a mixed year. In the US, there have been a few tentative signs of recovery. Unemployment has started to come down a fraction from its very high levels. And there's the faint stirrings of recovery in the US housing market, which was the epicenter of the problem in the global economy all the way back in 2007. That's where the problem started. And there is at last some tentative hope that the housing market in the US is starting to recover, although it will probably take a long time. As far as the emerging markets go, the two big ones are China and India, and they have been growing very fast in 2011. They have been the real locomotive of the global economy, and in fact have probably been growing a little bit too fast for their own good. In China, there's been action taken by Beijing to slow down the economy, and in India there's been problems of inflation also. UK politics has been fascinating in 2011 as far as the economy is concerned, because what's happened is that Ed Balls, the Shadow Chancellor, has pretty much, I think, won the argument in that he said at the start of the year when he became Shadow Chancellor that the coalition was tightening policy too fast and it would lead to a slowdown in the UK economy in 2011, and the idea that the private sector would be strong enough to compensate for the job cuts in the public sector. He said that was wrong, and Ed Balls has been proved right. The economy has done pretty much what he said it would do.
Plan A has failed, and it has failed colossally. With prices rising, with unemployment soaring, families, pensioners and businesses already know it's hurting. And with billions of pounds more in borrowing to pay for rising unemployment, today we find out the truth. It's just not working.
Funnily enough, the coalition has not paid a political price for that. If you look at the opinion polls, then the coalition is still riding high when it comes to economic competence. There's still more people out there who trust George Osborne and his Liberal Democrat Chief Secretary Danny Alexander to run the economy than they do Ed Balls and Ed Miliband. And I think they haven't really convinced people that what they're offering is significantly different from what the coalition is doing. They're offering sort of austerity light, if you like. And I don't really think that the public is buying that.
The rise in unemployment now is not necessary, shouldn't have happened. It is true that the global economy now is in a really, really dangerous state. In Europe, in America, we're facing a lost decade potentially of stagnation after the economic crisis. But in Britain, as I said a year ago, if the global hurricane is brewing, that's the wrong time to rip out the foundations of your house. This economic plan on the deficit is too far too fast, and it's not working.
One of the things that we found during 2011, starkly, is that the policymakers don't really have a total grip on events. That's certainly true in the eurozone, where they've staggered from crisis to crisis, always been fighting the last war. And to an extent, you know, that degree of uncertainty and lack of knowledge is true of the media as well. And the media doesn't really understand what's going on. And I think that, you know, the media coverage sometimes is a bit one-dimensional, really. I mean, it doesn't ever ask the question, is there something fundamentally flawed with this economic system? Is it reparable? We don't know that. I mean, the longer this crisis goes on, the more people, I think, are starting to say, is there something rather more hardcore at work here rather than just some superficial problems that can be solved in a very easy way? And I think that if we do go into a second downturn in 2012, which looks sadly quite likely, that will, I think, provoke a long overdue reassessment of the whole basis of economics and the way the global economy works, because it's quite clear that it's not working particularly well.